Welcome back to the Dynasty Football Key. Hey, it's been a while, and man, today I got a special guest, BigCo from the FF Dynasty. Man, I've been in the league with this guy for quite some time, and I don't know if there's anyone sharper or better at like convincing you how to, make your own team better in some trades to make sure he gets a trade done. But this guy is a wordsmith, definitely a Dynasty genius, and I appreciate you coming on the show today. How you doing, BigCo?
Oh man, those are some very kind words, dude. I really appreciate it, man. And yeah, you're right. We've been in the league together for years. You've been rolling with us over at the FF Dynasty for years, and just appreciate you having me. I don't think I've hit a guest spot in 5-6 years. So when you reached out, when you hit me up, I was like, you know it, bro. You know it.
Absolutely, man. Well, hey, just for you and the boys got a fresh crack.
Boom, the
Hey.
boys represent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, I got my shirt in the closet, but right now I'm actually repping the Scott Fish Bowl 14. I just did my draft over the weekend, flew out to Denver. I actually met Scott Fish in person, some of the guys over at Football Guys and Player Profiler. So it's really cool hanging out with those guys. Saw you guys actually have a partnership with Player Profiler. Going forward, I've been working with them as a producer on the back end, but I mean, I've been loving what you guys have been doing with the consistent content over the past years. And I mean, now it looks like it's just continue to grow, and we're going to see it more and more all over the place. Anything you can tell us about that partnership?
Yeah, man. Thanks for shouting that out. Obviously, you going up and seeing that and doing that live draft with the fishbowl is just sick, dude. That is so cool. The live drafts are the best, and when you can do it with guys like that are in the industry, and you just every conversation is just fantasy.
Yeah.
Just it's just hammering fantasy stuff. That is just the coolest, man. So I'm really psyched for you that you got to go do that. Can't wait to hear more about it later. Yeah, man. We just linked up with Player Profiler to put our podcast on their stream and kind of just bring it to a different audience. We were probably a tad early to the Dynasty podcast game. 7-8
Oh
years
yeah.
ago, we were one of the first. There was Dynasty Happy Hour. And maybe one more that can't remember the name of, but we were thirsty for it, and that we kind of went out and started doing it. And the thing is, like, the Dynasty game is growing, and it's so strong now. It's quote unquote everywhere now.
Yeah.
But 8 years ago, you had to be a legit degenerate, fantasy football degenerate to be like you are,
Yeah.
like you are.
Like
And
you are.
I am, so it was like just a whole nother level of fantasy football. And now, like, the pond is getting bigger, so like to see your success and to see your views on YouTube with this channel is amazing. And like what we got going on at FF Dynasty, of course, if you follow us and you've been around the block, I've been in and out, and mostly out for the last couple of years. Kids took a toll, and but I've been jumping in here and there about once every month or two. And then the last couple months, I've been back a lot more often. We finally got a little bit less pressure at home at nights and this and that. Got some stuff ironed out, got some kinks ironed out, and just kind of felt like I'm ready to step back into the driver's seat, so to speak, and get in there with Casey and talk some Dynasty Fantasy Football. Linked up with Player Profiler, and it's been the first week we just went live on our first podcast over there and crushed downloads. So that was pretty cool, man. Thanks for shouting us out.
Yeah, well, they're excited to have you. I've been working really close with Theo Grimminger. I've been working with the First Class Fantasy Show.
Yeah, Theo's a beast. Theo's a beast.
In Dynasty Life. And that, it's just the thing I see that's working well for anyone that's getting into space is just the consistency. Keep grinding. I mean, you got to have a passion for it. And that's why I love this. I hopped on here right after my wife did her podcast for Comics Books Price Guide. Her show's called Tales from the Geek. And I mean, they got a lot of passion over there. And this is all about being passionate for the game. And y'all guys' style has always been long form content. So anyone that's looking for, game theory, how to think about the game and trades, like deep diving into some of the psychology of not just trades that are done, but how to accomplish trades to begin with. That's some of the stuff I remember hearing over the years that I wasn't really finding too many other places. And yes, it has grown tremendously, but I mean, I've been following you guys quite some time, so I mean, it was definitely something that people were looking for, and yeah, now I'm here. It definitely is growing, but you guys have been eating for a while, so you're one of those big fish in the pond right now.
I don't know if we'd say big fish. It's we may not be the smallest fish, but we're still a pretty small fish, and that's the way you need to kind of go about it. Even
Yeah,
the more success that you get, it's just like as soon as you feel you know comfortable, you're not doing yourself justice, and you're not doing your listeners justice. You're not doing your passion justice, right? Like I had to to be quite frank, with the kids and all, the break that I took from the podcast with Casey and Jay pretty much took the same break from my dynasty teams, you know? And so mentally checking out of my dynasty teams, I didn't do my teams justice for a season or three. And so I had some teams that, started, I needed to grab the sticks and pull them up a bit.
yeah,
So I've spent the off season grabbing the sticks and pulling up, and trying to get my elevation back. But no, like the game theory, the not. I mean, obviously, I love a good trade talk now, but like the game theory, what you or the mindset, the psychology of it, I really didn't think I was getting it from anybody, so I had to give it. you
yeah.
know. And so if I was, saying, appreciate you saying that too. Like, I don't think there's some people out there now doing some good trade talk, you know. There's some good trade talk shows out there. But for a long time, I didn't think there was really anybody necessarily breaking down some of the psychology of it, how to get the trade done, how to talk to people, and some of that game strategy. And that's what Casey and I kind of pride ourselves on. Not just knowing the players, and not just saying, hey, make your bet on this guy. Obviously, there's plenty of guys you can be right and wrong about, but if you're playing the game to a high level basic strategy, you're going to be just ahead of it, ahead of the curve from the get go, and try to, and until you take your foot off the pedal, so to speak, like I did. That's kind of how I like to play it.
Well, you got some teams that you're co-managing, and since I started having more kids, I started doing that as well, and that's been working. And one of the teams that we're going to talk about, I started, and year one I made the playoffs, and I realized my team was already kind of getting a little bit old, so I started what I called the Cancun rebuild. So check this out.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. So I've been rebuilding this team for a while, and we'll get into this. But it does look like now you guys have found yourself in a little bit of a rebuild situation. But first, I want to just show the people a quick look at a recent draft I was a part of,
Let's
the
do it.
Scott Fish. Scott Fish. Have you seen any of these Scott Fish drafts going on?
This is the picture that you sent. Well, yeah, I've seen them on Twitter, but you sent me the picture
Yeah.
of yourself up there and some draft boards in the background.
Yeah.
That was so sick.
Yeah, it was really cool. So not only am I drafting my league, but there's two other leagues going on simultaneously as mine. And as we're doing our picks, you can kind of see who's falling in the other leagues. I was
Right.
able to get Brock Purdy in the third, whether you like that pick or not. In the other two drafts simultaneously, right next to us, Purdy was going in the second round. So I'm like, oh hey, a little bit of a value there, even though it's the third round reversal here. But I'm here on the right Dynasty Football Key. You got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Brock Purdy, Evan Ingram, Jake Ferguson, Diggs, George Pickens, Terry McLaurin, Mostert, Ridley, McCarthy, Addison, Taysom Hill, Damian Pierce, and Ricky Pearsall. So just for anyone that doesn't know, scoring format, you got quite a bit of boost going here and there, but QB value for passing yards is been kind of cut in half. So really it's mainly the rushing quarterbacks that still have an advantage because you do get a point per carry, and that applies to the running backs as well. So most people will not like my team because I don't have many running backs, and that's fine because when you're in a really big tournament, one of the things I like to do is just try to apply a different game theory method, which is to do something that is not the dominant strategy because everyone might be doing the dominant strategy, and then I can maybe get an advantage somewhere else. So for me, hopefully that advantage comes in the form of the wide receiver position, because I can show you the rosters here. Hopefully I don't show my cue by accident, just so you can see how it's 5 flex spots here. and you got 2 quarterback spots. I mean, one of those being super flex, and then you're only forced to start one of every position basically.
Gotcha.
So for me, kind of hoping, hey, maybe JJ McCarthy hits. He did have the fastest 3-cone drill time in the entire NFL combine of all the players that were at his event, this 2024 class. So he can actually move a JJ McCarthy. So I'm talking about here. But I also have him stacked with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. So if that hits big, where everyone thinks this is a down year, I'm not saying he's Stroud, but the guy can play to some degree, possibly. If
Sure.
that hits, it might be nice, and I'll just finish by saying that with the scoring, we've got a tight end premium where you get 1.5 points per reception for tight ends. It's actually a tiered system where the receivers only get 1 point and the running backs get half of a point. And there's
Okay.
also first down points. A tight end will get a full point for a first down. Every other position gets half of a point for a first down. So definitely, kind of a boost there. And the last little caveat is there is rushing. You get 1 point for every 5 yards on the kick return or punt return. So Damian Pierce, you're like, that guy was not playing very well last year, right? Well, he had a game. I don't wonder if I can show it here, but he had a game where he had like 48 points because he had a kick return.
Yeah, if you
Um,
scroll over, I saw a return there. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, point is, you'll see a lot of people like Ricky Pearsall. He's potentially going to be kick return. A lot of rookies are, right, and he did in college. So you'll see in this league a Rashid Shaheed. He
Yeah,
goes David Kluge right ahead of me. He takes Rashid Shaheed. This
yeah,
guy crushed, and he has a role on offense.
right.
So that's why he's better than the Pierce, who is a backup. But Rashid's going to be on offense and on kick return. So yeah, just wanted to give a little look at how that Scott Fishbowl is doing since we've been having those going all over the place.
Nice. I see Josh Larkey's in that league. That's cool. I respect his work. He's always
Oh
got
yeah,
something smart to say. That's
a
cool.
lot of upside, crazy upside on this team.
Yeah.
I could see
Well,
exactly what he's doing.
well, it's a big tournament. You might as well go for a full upside. Get up there and be high enough to make some noise, or burn out and be beautiful doing it.
Yeah, to be honest, it's mainly just so that we can support the charity and just have fun. And for me, I got a chance to meet a lot of people that like I am working with Player Profiler, but I had never met Josh Larkey. So cool to meet him. Got to meet Kluge and Jagger from the football guys. I'm actually going to do a podcast with Nate. I don't want to butcher his last name. I think it's Poolgeist, but here Thursday, and we're going to be doing a live reaction to a rookie draft that some other folks are doing on Thursday. So it's just been really fun to be able to network. Nate Polvogt. Yeah, there's no way I'll be able to get that right, but he's co-founder of Optimus Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of his work. So yeah,
Nate
man.
will straighten you out when y'all get together.
Okay, yeah, he was real cool, man. So just meeting a lot of people, and I had seen his work before. Just obviously never got a chance to work with these guys. So let's move away from this
All right.
and go to the main event. All right, so this is the FF Dynasty Plehhh-jurrr Town League,
Love
and
it.
not sure how many years we've been in it, but this year I had quite a few picks. I've been doing a rebuild for who knows how long. It feels like 3 years, but I had amassed a ton of picks, and I really was looking at the roster because of a lot of the other drafts I had been doing, and I knew I was going to have to make so many cut downs
Yeah.
that I was making. I was going into it knowing I wanted to make some trades, and the first trade I did with, and I'll first point out this is my team here at the 3 spot, and then you are sharing a team with maybe both of your co-hosts, Jay Wayne
Yeah.
and Casey, or is that right?
Yeah, this
Okay.
was long enough ago that we were still doing teams with the tripod with the 3 of us.
Yeah, the
It just
tripod. Okay.
it's tough. It's really tough to have 3 managers, So like you get into the 2 versus 1 vote scenario, and then obviously somebody wants to lobby for their ideas and this and that, and then so this team you mentioned, we fell into a big need for a rebuild, and main reason is because when you have 2 other managers, Like nobody does anything. So we for 2 or 3 years, we best sometimes we didn't even set our lineup. I mean, it was completely disrespectful to the league, you know, and just it was disrespectful to our team, disrespectful for the brand, and so it's like coming into this offseason again, I was pulling up on the sticks, and I just told Casey and Jay, I was like, listen, I'm about to make moves with this team. Something needs to happen, and I'm gonna have time to talk to y'all about it. If you want to get in there and do something, get in there and do something. But I'm getting in there and I'm gonna do something. And but I love what your team was doing. Going into the draft, you had all the picks, like you said. I mean, you literally dominated the draft in picks, and I really liked what you. I'll let you say what you did, but I liked the fact that you were packaging up picks to move forward because, like you said, you were rebuilding, but you had already been in like your year 3 of the rebuild, so like your team was already solid because of the shots that you were able to take last year in the rookie draft. And
Oh yeah.
some of the guys were home runs. I think you got. So I mean, obviously Bijan, we knew that was pretty much
Yeah.
all run.
CJ Stroud fell
You
to
got
me
you got
at the
Stroud and
6th pick.
Bijan. That'll set your dynasty team straight right there, real quick. And then you had all these picks, and so I didn't. Of course, I wasn't studying your lineup, your roster top to bottom, so I didn't know that you were like packaging your picks to go forward in the draft because of your cut down potential problem. But it makes sense because you had a lot of good players when you went into the draft with all those draft picks, and I was like, wow, what you did. And then when Casey and we did a show about our team's trades in this league, and one of them, the biggest one we made was with you, and we talked about your team and your rebuild process and the fact that you freaking crushed it. So I'm really anxious to hear some more of behind the scenes thought
Yeah.
process of the moves you were making and why you made them.
Yeah, man. And just to kind of quickly recap that pre-draft trade, Casey came up to me, kind of said a little bit about what you guys were saying. He was like, "Hey, we're ready to kind of pick a direction for our team," and you guys are like, "Hey, we're ready to get rid of Michael Pittman and some other veterans." You guys ended up doing 2 really big trades with me and another team, but yeah, I was able to, or I ended up giving you the pick that became Brock Bowers, that 108 for Pittman, and then Deontay Johnson. There's more to it, guys. I don't have it up. I have all these other trades up, but essentially, you guys are able to get really young. And Brock Bowers is a super fun asset. I mean, I hope this guy is as legendary as he kind of seems.
Me
And
too, bro. Me
I
too.
was like, oh man, I wish I still had Bowers instead of Pittman. But I did want to get some guys to put into my lineup, and yeah, just wanted to start going into that win now direction because I had a lot of pieces, but really what I was missing was some receivers and running back. I was completely loaded at tight end with a Laporta that I hit on last year as well, and happened to have some other guys like a Ferguson and Njoku. So I was like, I'm fine. I actually was thinking McCarthy might fall to me back then. That's what I told Casey, but it looks like McCarthy didn't even make it to that pick anyway.
Who
That's
knew
who
that was months ago? Who knew?
yeah. So I'll go ahead and pull up the first trade here if you can see it on the screen. So this was actually with a buddy of mine that joined the league recently, and he's a designer, Ethan. He's actually working on my new logo that will come out here pretty soon.
Nice.
And yeah, so yeah, he's actually in a co-managed team with our boy Steve. I get the 110, and I give away the 203, 208. So I was seeing how I had a need at running back. And it's tough when you're running a league and you're giving out fantasy football advice and content because I don't necessarily want to do all of I don't want to tell people to pay up for these running backs, but for me, I had a Bijan Robinson and guys, I'll move this real quickly. There's a Texas jersey behind me, a Texas running back. So if there's a
Right.
Texas running back in the draft, I'm interested. So I got Bijan
Yeah.
one here. I got Jonathan Brooks the next year. We're feeling pretty good. We got Roshan Johnson on the team, by the way. So
Shout out to Texas, bro.
yeah, we're all over it. So ended up doing this trade to get Jonathan Brooks. And just so you know, on the other side of that trade, this guy got some value because that ends up being Michael Penix Jr. at the 2-3 and Adonai Mitchell also from Texas at the 2-8. So with that trade right there, I mean, I'm curious, what do you think about that? And do you weigh in the need to, hey, I want to win now versus And again, maybe you think these other pieces are win now pieces, but let me know what your thoughts are on that.
It is an interesting situation when you're going from like your rebuild and basically transitioning straight into win now is really cool. So at this point when we had this rookie draft, which was a few months ago now, it was literally like maybe 2 weeks after the real NFL draft, and I mean Jonathan Brooks is steaming up, right? First first running back off the board, goes to the Panthers, Dave Canales, all that stuff. So, and he just gets up there to every time he gets on the podium, he talks about, hey, I'm still going, I'm gonna run the ball. Rashad White caught all those passes. Jonathan Brooks is supposed to be a good running back, better than White, et cetera, et cetera. So not only do you have the Texas thing linking you to Jonathan Brooks, you have the ability with a ton of picks and the mindset, the focus on saying, hey, I'm gonna move forward and get higher end assets. So when you gave away the 2-3, you have no idea at that point, because I think you did it with 110 on the clock to get Jonathan Brooks.
Yes.
So like you had no idea at that point that you were giving away the chance to get Michael Penix. You don't know that Penix isn't the next pick. So you don't know if you're sitting there at 2-3 if Penix is going to get to you or not. I've seen in some leagues I've seen Penix go at the 1-8, 1-9, and I've seen Penix go to 2-4, 2-5. So that's after it's all said and done and the dust settles. Jonathan Brooks is way ahead of Penix in the draft, but like Penix is like somehow consistently, like in a startup mock, he'll still be up there above some of these other receivers and stuff, the Brian Thomases sometimes, and the Keon Coleman's and the McConkeys and stuff, just because thirst for quarterback, but you didn't even have that. You got some good quarterbacks. You got Stroud and Jordan Love, and I think you had already taken Daniels. So like you had necessarily no real need for quarterback. And so you didn't have to sit there at 2-3 or maybe do a little tiny trade up and see, you didn't even really need Penix. And he certainly does help you win now. Now Jonathan Brooks might not necessarily help you win week 1 through 6 or whatever. We don't know how long before he gets back full strength, but he could be a great addition to your, lineup week 12, week 14, whatever, if he hits his stride, if he comes on strong, like just for the playoff push. If he hops in there and he's crushing it for the playoff push, then that'd be a sick little win now move. But also in the future, to me, I don't really need Jonathan Brooks to do anything this year, for his value. So I don't think we just did a show on, it's called Pay the Price. It's like when in our fantasy 4 league, FFD 4 league, like we just paid up for some assets, but we paid extra because the assets were Amon St. Brown, and he's 24 years old, So, but like St. Brown's averaging 18, 20 points a game. So he's a win now guy, but he's 24, and paid to be in the system. So like you paid up for Jonathan Brooks. Yeah, he's a running back, but like if you're trying to win the championships, you got to have a running back. If you're trying to rebuild and get good to be able to make the playoffs, you probably should sell your running backs and get what you can get for them. And then that way you can have a quote unquote worse draft pick the next year. So you just want holes in your lineup to build a better chance for a better draft pick in your rookie draft. And then obviously don't dodge good, value when it comes your way. But you wouldn't be trading up for a Jonathan Brooks if you were starting your rebuild process, but because your mindset and focus could turn to like, I'm no longer rebuilding, I am rebuilt. Jonathan Brooks could go a long way. And you did this after, like I said, you got Daniels and Neighbors. So basically, I don't want to say, you're playing with house money, but all those draft picks you had, if you can, you're gonna throw Neighbors and Daniels on your team, but it was a pretty good team coming into the pretty, studded out young team. You're gonna throw those two guys on your list, and then you're gonna just trade up for Jonathan Brooks, like you were showing off.
Oh man, you're being too kind. And guys, the inside joke is that between Big D and KC, they called Michael Penix months before the NFL draft that he was legit. And even going into the fantasy playoff, or excuse me, the college playoffs, they had a watch party and everything that I jumped on for quite just a little bit. But I mean, you guys were all over it. So whenever Michael Penix was selected, I mean, a lot of victory laps for KC. And I was actually surprised. Y'all had the very next pick after Brooks. I thought y'all might go get him there. Never ended up getting Penix. I was surprised by that. So that had to be one of y'all's, tough decisions you had to get through.
Yeah, that was not the best. That wasn't our shining moment. That was one of those things where, we took Ladd and we debated Penix, and we had other picks and we had other chances, and honestly, we probably should have taken Penix, but there was a three-way argument, and we kind of decided that we could take McConkey and see if we can trade back up to get Penix. And then sometimes you had a bunch of picks, and sometimes you don't get the trades that you think, even if you're offering fair value, that's not going to cut it in a rookie draft because juices are flowing. And if you can overpay, juices are flowing. Rookie fever is at its absolute height. When somebody's on the clock, you can offer them so much more value for that spot, and they don't care. So we had the intentions of taking McConkey there and coming back to get Penix, and it just didn't happen. And we could have taken Penix there and gotten, you can see on our draft board there. I don't know the trades in between those picks, but we ended up getting Keon Coleman and Leggett being 2.7, which I think is awesome value. But there was no chance at 2.5 that Penix was going to be there. And if memory serves, we probably were a little bit. We probably were maybe we were at 2.4 and we traded back potentially because Penix went. I know we could not pull off the trade up to get Penix. We probably should have taken Penix at the 11 and then let the chips fall. And maybe the thought process could have been once Penix is off the board, then the trades could get a little easier versus taking Ladd and the trades getting a little. At that point, Ladd was all the fire though.
Yeah.
I think people got tired of talking about Ladd, and so now they've turned off, and not that they've turned him off, but we got to go talk about somebody else. So there was that for the first couple of weeks, Ladd was all the fire after the NFL draft because he went to the Chargers and they didn't have anybody else to throw to, and now so the fire's cooled off. But I mean, Ladd's upside and short term startability is there.
Yeah, he's set up to crush. And I have about 7 trades queued up. Maybe I've got that one in here. So I guess we'll keep rolling through these. But I did want to say one last thing, just to get your feel on it. I know it's an overpay. I already asked you guys on the YouTube channel. You already said it was overpay. We know it's an overpay. But I ended up acquiring Derrick Henry for a first-round pick and Jahan Dotson, I believe. And that's an overpay to get Derrick Henry. Okay, 2025 first. It's mine. I'm basically saying, hey, I think I got a squad here. Let's see what we can do with this. And if that hurts, that hurts. I still have another first and all of my other picks. So I have at least some ammo to navigate with next year in 2025. But I plan to have Henry to start the year, and then I'm hoping that Jonathan Brooks can take over down the line.
Oh, I like that. The pair that I like to pair the rookie in Brooks, who may not play for a while. Or at least if he does play, he might be out there. You definitely don't want him in your fantasy lineup potentially. So that Derrick Henry is a nice starter for you. And I think in this league you play for the 1-1. I think in the losers bracket, I'm pretty sure in this league you play for the 1-1. Right. So giving away your pick always stings if you miss the playoffs. If stuff happens, especially when you got a good team, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a great team, now you're gonna need a lot of bad luck to miss the playoffs. So that happens. But you got a studded out young team, so I wouldn't say but unless you flash your roster here, I don't know how great it is today, but it's on its way to being ridiculously great. But if you miss the playoffs, that's going to really sting. But if Derrick Henry is out there mashing, then I think you'll be okay. He could literally carry you to the playoffs. The Dotson part of that trade is I expect him to be better this year. Interesting. You had Daniels and you had that stack.
Yeah, that was rough. But I kind of treated it as a throw in, and not again. This is me saying not necessarily want to be trading this for Henry, but with the Bijan who might be able to carry me anyway, and the guys I already had, I was like, you know what, I'm just hype on this Ravens situation. That's my AFC team that I like a lot. So I was just kind of going for the upside of that. And in this league specifically, it's a 2-week playoff where the total points of
Right.
that 2-week time frame is matched up against 3 other opponents, and the whoever of those 4 people has a top score in that 2-week time frame, that's the winner.
I think
So
that's
I really wanted some juice potentially down the stretch that could, maybe could happen twice in a row and not just a lucky flash in the pan.
love it. Love it.
All right. Well, let's jump on to the next trade here. And promise they're not all mine. This was me trading, receiving the 202 and gave away the 211, 210. So at this point, I've given away, quite a few picks to move around the board. In this situation, where I get the 2-2, I do that and end up getting Brian Thomas Jr. And I it's hard for me to say he's falling. When you guys did your episode on this, Austin Abbott had a good breakdown on it and said it was a good value. But I do understand people going for quarterback and the Ladd and Benson and a lot of these other guys. There's a lot of talent in this class, to be honest.
Oh, for sure.
But for me, so the thing I'm navigating with my team is I also just don't want to be oversaturated in all these other receivers that I can never start. But this guy, I just see so much upside, and I got to do a quick plug. I've been working on something called the Phenom Finder, and Brian Thomas Jr. ranks pretty highly up there, but not ahead of Malik Neighbors, but still he's pretty high up there on the Phenom Finder score, and that's just saying who's really an athletic freak and has some upside, and just don't have any shares of Brian Thomas anywhere else. So I felt like at this point I was willing to give that up, and that was with Kraus. So let's check his squad and see what he ended up doing. That so 210 and 211, correct? So those back-to-back picks. He went Troy Franklin, Jatavian Sanders, Texas alum like myself. I think I smashed this trade, to be honest. So
no doubt. I mean, as soon as you made the trade, I didn't even care who you took. When you got up there that far with those picks, I mean, I could easily take Jalen Wright and Marshawn Lloyd in that spot. Who knows how good Jalen Polk's really going to be, et cetera. The fact Troy Franklin could be a beast. But when you made the trade, I was like, dang, that was a really good trade for you, especially like it was obvious you'd already done something like that to come up to get Brooks. And then when you double tapped it and did it again to come up to get Thomas, again, you're just stacking studs because you got Neighbors and you got Daniels and then you got Brooks. Now you come and get Brian Thomas. So literally you just got 4 legit studs. Like there's a chance Brian Thomas doesn't work. There's also a chance he is phenomenal to take, like your Phenom Finder. There's a chance that he is absolutely ridiculous. So and a much higher chance than Troy Franklin being ridiculous. Troy Franklin might be good. He might be plenty good. Reunited with his college quarterback. Sean Payton might do the quick ball, get a butt. They might, throw the ball 38 times a game just to get it out quick. And Franklin could catch 6-7 passes a game. Doubt it, but he could. But like Thomas is a stud. Whether or not that translates and he focuses on his, development, we don't know. You never know that about any guy, really. Like the only guy that we probably thought that was really the crucial was going to happen for sure on the development mindset part was probably like Christian McCaffrey. That dude's going to keep training. His dad wouldn't even let him wear jeans to school on Fridays before his games. Like it had to be sweatpants. It had to be like, the bloodline there would, you know what I mean? It's like if Brian Thomas like dials it in, the sky's the limit, bro. I love that trade for you. Okay, here's your squad, and I love that. So you picked up the Pittman from us. Nico Collins, I don't think anybody's higher on Nico than me. I mean, look at that lineup. You can't look at that lineup and say you're about to miss the playoffs. If you get plagued with injuries, maybe.
Yeah.
But, you got a third quarterback in Jaden Daniels. The rookie quarterback is on your bench, but that's the third quarterback. It's not like because of his rushing upside, it's not like another rookie quarterback like this where all the mentals had to be like perfect for it to be producing fantasy points, and then, you got Blake Corum, which is huge. He's one injury away from being an every week starter. And Jaden Reed sitting there on the bench. Brian Thomas might be he could, as a rookie, he could be a flex starter for you. That Tajay Spears you got from us. in that trade. That one stings a little bit still. Njoku sitting on your bench in a tight end premium league, and Deontay Johnson giving you quality depth. Ferguson too, dude. Come on,
man. So
all right.
I'm excited for this. I'm excited for this team, and
And I
again, I
saw,
didn't give away all my assets, but you know,
yeah,
so I promise, guys, it's not just about my roster. But you had asked about
man,
the
it's a
team,
little
and
bit of backpatting, but you deserve it, bro. You deserve it. You rebuilt. Like there's so many things. Rebuilding is fun.
Cancun
You know,
rebuild.
rebuilding is fun, but it's really fun when it works out. You know, it's you can be stuck in the I'm rebuilding. I don't want anybody on my team that actually scores points mode. That hurts. But like when you see a roster like you got, and I saw your rebuild over the last 2 or 3 years come together, that's impressive, bro.
Yeah, man. And you definitely hear on podcasts all the time, like, hey, definitely go for a win now. I actually 100% agree with that, to be honest, because I can build some good win now teams.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've taken over orphans. The way I actually got involved with player profiles, I took over an orphan team, won my very first year, and
Nice.
I've won 3 times total in the last 4 years.
Boom.
And it was just a rebuild, and I flip a Julio Jones into I believe the 101 somehow at the time. It was right before the cliff,
Yeah.
and uh, and just kept going from there. And I'm not going to get into that, but yeah,
Love
it's you can have fun with some rebuilds. I always suggest just hey sell the older pieces, try to get the 2-for-1 trades. You know, try to make sure you're getting younger and just getting those younger assets because that's what people are going to want when they actually come to you for trades. So let's move on to the next one here, and we've got JMW Husker Power. JMW receives a 209, a 2025 third, gives away 206. So he moves up just 3 spots, gives away 2025 third. Husker Power is a solid team, so maybe he thinks that might be a late third, doesn't value that too much. So JMW ends up taking. Oh, well, okay. A lot of trades look like they happened since then, but
Sure.
I don't think he held on to that pick. So I would say move up 3 spots for a third. You know, not too bad. 209.
That's an interesting if I'm sitting
Was
on the clock at 2-6,
maybe I clicked the wrong one. Yeah.
to me, like, you know, I mean, it's a tight end premium league, so obviously Ben Sennett's a little bit tastier in this league and stuff like that. But like, if I got my guy at 2-6, and then like I've been saying all off season long, 2-6 and was my tier, and then you know some people come around and all of a sudden now 2-7. If you can be 2-8 or above, that's you know. So I felt like you could easily be there at 2.
Ben Sennett was his pick.
Ben Sennett. So you can easily be sitting there at 2-9, offering a 3 and getting rejected to move up to 2-6. You know. But if you're sitting there at 2-6 and you had your heart set on, I can't see the draft board right now, but let's say you had your
heart set. Let me pull that down.
Let's say you had your heart set on Ricky Pearsall, or in this scenario is Keon Coleman at 2-5. If you got 2-6 and you're like, I'm getting Pearsall or Keon Coleman for sure, and bang bang they go right in front of you, and you're like, man, I thought Xavier Leggett was supposed to go. I don't want Leggett. I thought Leggett was going to go up there, and I was going to get Pearsall or Keon Coleman or whatever it is, and then you're like, all right, well, if you're sitting at 2-6 and you don't like you like a couple guys, that third round pick is going to be nice to have next year. Either A, to have another player to pick to have fun with, or definitely, if degenerate you, to use in trades, So if, and in this case, obviously it got traded around again, but let's just say 2-9. If you were at 2-6 and you were unhappy because Keon Coleman went right in front of you, that trade back, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the 2-6 guy wanted Blake Corum, So if you want Blake Corum at 2-6, but you're also happy with Leggett or AD Mitchell, then or Ben Sennett, it's just the same thing we've been saying for years. If you like 3 guys, then trade back 3 picks and pick up something for free. That third round pick is huge. Now, if you like Blake Corum more than the other guys and you don't want to gamble, like we did, we gambled when we took Ladd McConkey at 11 because we were like, we'll figure out a way to get Penix. We did not get Penix, and it hurt. So, like, if you're at 2-6 and you move back to 2-9 and you wanted, Leggett, and he goes and you know what I mean? Like, it's all fun and games to move back 2 or 3 spots if you really like the 3 spots. There are 3 players anyway, but if there's somebody you really, really, really want and it's going to really, really hurt if they go, you might as well just take them.
Yeah, exactly. And he did end up trading that 2-9, and I got it right here. He traded it to me. And I went up and got Blake Corum, and I gave up a massive picks, 4 picks. I gave the 307, 311, 403, as well as a 2025 third. So he got that 2025 third right back.
Yeah.
So that was no issue for no. Actually, no. Sorry, this guy traded back to the 2-9, got a third. Now he's trading away the 2-9 and getting another third
Oh,
from me.
okay. Yeah.
And all these other picks. So he's kind of stacking towards that class. Looks like he finished in 6th or 7th place last year. So he was, giving him a little security there. And you're right. For me, a third, I would use that to maybe get a waiver running back that somebody got that I like, that maybe they're like, yeah, next year Jerome Ford's not still going to be good, so I'll just give you a third
Right.
for it. Or who Gus Edwards was going for thirds, even though it ended up getting a good landing spot the next season. But that type of thing. So I don't think we have to break down this too much. Just some later picks for me to move up. In my opinion, I was very desperate at running back. Didn't have Henry yet. I knew we've got a Brooks coming in off of ACL injury, so just wanted another shot there. There's something that we've seen, right? There's trends in the NFL, and I'll move this down. There's a trend where, hey, the NFC East, there's never back-to-back winner, and it hasn't happened since the 2008 or whatever it is. Well, the Rams haven't had a back-to-back same RB1 since Todd Gurley in 2015. Every single season, it's been a different RB1 for the Rams.
Good stat.
Who's it going to be? If it's not Kyron, it's got to be Corum, right? Now, again, it's just like percentages. It's not exactly true, but hey, the number one player in fantasy doesn't always repeat, even though people always draft the same person to be number one every year.
Oh,
so,
hardly ever repeats.
So we know these trends exist, but we don't. We might not want to listen. But here, I'm just going to take a shot and see what happens.
Yeah, I think Christian McCaffrey's the first RB1 to repeat, maybe since LaDainian Tomlinson or something. It was some crazy stat, that, or maybe it was like the only running back in the last 10 years that has been the RB1 twice, and it was Christian McCaffrey, which starts to take you far enough back to get towards the LaDainian repeat.
Yeah.
And maybe it went back far enough, maybe not too far. Maybe Le'Veon Bell did it 2 years in a row, but I don't think he stayed healthy. I think he was RB1 hurt, RB1 hurt, kind of thing. Yeah, man. So I like that trade a bunch to go up to get Corum for sure. Like you said, I mean, you gave up a bunch of picks, but they started at 3-7 and later. Which, you basically took a bunch of question marks and traded them in for obviously a question mark, but a lot less of a question mark, if that makes any sense. Like, like the Rams offense, there's no question mark about what's going on there. You got one of the best minds in the game. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the game. If you take away age, you got a top 5 quarterback. If you look at the receiving core, there's no chance the defense can key in on the running back, and just the way they play, like 95% 3 wide receivers. So like he's not telling you what they're going to do. And then all of a sudden you got to defend Cooper Kupp. You got to defend Nakua, and you got to play defense on a ridiculously good running game that stretches you out.
What a job by McVay.
Sure, definitely.
That ended up, and we'll move on, but that ends up being 3-7 Malachi Corley, Kamani Vidal at the 3-11, and Ray Davis at the 4-3, as well as that 2025 third. So nice guys, nice dart throws. I have been hearing Corley has been slow to pick up the offense. Not that that matters. Anything can happen. Just, Vidal's a 6th-round pick. You know what I mean? A little bit later guys.
Exactly. Yeah, it's I liked it before you put the names to it. I love it even more when you put the names to it. Obviously, if you let me go back through and pick some guys, I might enjoy those picks a little bit better. But I would not make that trade the other way around. I would be super happy to have Blake Corum in your position.
Well, we'll see what happens. We've got 3 more to get through, and we can look at the other teams outside of the trades. But since we had these, one of you guys trade, you get the 303 giveaway future 2026 second. So and it looks like it belonged to me. So deep out there, and that's going to be the 212. What's that?
We did that.
Yeah, it looks
Okay,
like
so
it.
who did we take at 3-3? And take that trade down. Let me see that board,
I
bro.
didn't even remember doing this trade,
No,
but again, I was trying to get rid of picks. So sorry.
oh, Burton. Nice.
Oh, I like that. So 303, you took Burton. Yeah, I love Burton. I did a film breakdown of Burton. Guy's real explosive, number one on every offense he's been on at both schools. So guy's good. I don't think that's even a question. So like the pick for you guys.
So that
I
was
think I wasn't too worried about receivers, but I like that for y'all.
yeah, that was the 2026 2 for you, didn't it?
Yeah,
All right, so that our now I don't remember doing that, but I do remember the
I don't
conversation.
either.
I do remember the conversation now that it happened was we were trying to get another draft pick. We were trying to get another pick. We were looking for volume. If you click on our team, we made a lot of picks.
Oh yeah.
We had let our team run into the ground. We made a lot of trades. If we talked about on the show that we did about this league, we made a lot of trades to come up with some of these picks. And then the Jermaine Burton was on the board, and I do remember the logic of, hey, Alex's team is about to crush anyway. If he doesn't crush this year, he's definitely crushing in 2025. And he's got, like you said, this is before you gave away for Henry, but you had multiple firsts going into next year's draft again. And it's like, Alex is in 2026, he's going to be the best team in the league. So, like, we're definitely trading away a playoff draft pick 2 years from now to get a chance at Burton here, which we needed volume. We needed players. We were looking for a complete overhaul. And we have almost a roster, almost a starting lineup's worth of players that we like. We don't have a lot of volume. We got some couple studs, and then like our bench needed overhauling. And so that's where that pick came from. It was like, well, give me the upside of Burton and Joe Burrow playing together now versus a second round pick that's going to be late 2 years from now in 2026.
Yeah, I like it. And I value Burton over that pick, to be honest. I mean, he has to hit. He's got to not be a knucklehead, but that's all hearsay. I don't know anything that's real about that. Like, let's see what happens. If certain players that are running back for the Texans can get a fresh start, I'm sure Burton can get a fresh start with the same team. So yeah, man, let's roll through the next one here. Last couple here. So this is another one from y'all. And 306 you guys got. So again, you're trying to get more picks. You just got acquired the 303. Now you got the 306, and you gave up a 2025 third, 2026 third. So you guys seem to be in on the 2024 class. You're willing to move off the other classes and all in on this one. I love this class. So 2/3 for this pick, and let me move the screens. You guys ended up with Jalen McMillan. So this guy is looking like he may potentially move Trey Palmer to the side. I liked what Trey Palmer did last year, explosive, but he might have to wait till Mike Evans is gone to get any more run as the deep threat. And McMillan has looked like he's been able to get maybe some special teams usage, but also he seems to be for sure going to get on the field this year. But how do you feel about that McMillan pickup?
Well, for me, the value on the trade was two things. Like you said, I am very into this year's draft class, mainly because like I said, I had to really get back into things this year, and I've really put more into it. And who knows where I'm going to be next offseason, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to put as much into it next offseason, but no, quite frankly, McMillan is Casey's boy, like these guys are home, and you would think they text each other. Like, they're homeboy. You would think that they just like call each other on Christmas and stuff like that. Casey loves this dude. So like he was on the board. He didn't want to miss him. We talked, it's like and again, the value of the trade. So we gave away a third round pick next year and a third round pick, not double thirds next year, a third next year and a third the year after. So like the value on what we gave away for what we got, I thought was more than fair on our end of what we'd pick up. And of course, the dude trading that pick away, he has no idea who we want. So he might have had 2-3 more picks, but for us, we're again volume. Already having McConkey, Keon Coleman, Leggett, Burton, Baker. It's like, all right, we got 5 wide receivers that we know their names. Are they going to be good? We don't know. Ladd's got a good chance. Keon Coleman's going to have a great chance. Leggett's going to get some opportunity. It's a little bit busy over there in the Panthers for a minute, but and then Burton and Baker are awesome stabs, and to throw McMillan on top of it is just like kind of like the icing on the cakes, like just kind of topped off rebuilding. Not only what we're trying to do, rebuild the team. We got a couple of good players at the top in the first round. We got Brock Bowers at, like you said, 1-8. When we got that pick from you at 1-8, we had no idea in a tight end premium Brock Bowers was going to fall that far. So
yeah,
we were
sad times.
Head over heels to be able to get that pick made. Got Drake, big quarterback need, took Drake May at 1-5. That, give or take, we could have done a little bit something different with that, but hopefully that works out. But getting McMillan on top of those other 5 wide receivers just basically thickens up our bench. You're showing
Yeah, this is y'all squad. I thought it was only fair. It took me a while to figure it out. I do all my drafting from my phone, so I'm still trying to figure it out. But
I never look at Sleeper on my computer. It's completely wild.
Yeah, but I only started doing it for the pod.
Yeah, exactly. We got Puka and we got Jordan Addison, we got Kyle Pitts, and we had a couple of other players I think moved to the bench with some of those rookies on there for fun. But so I think before the draft started, we had a okay looking starting lineup that had some holes. Obviously, massive need at quarterback. But just bringing it, you see those rookies right in JSN. That's what it was. So
that was in the. I gave y'all JSN. That was a part of the.
If you just one, yeah. Looking at a roster that was completely inept 2 months ago, and now you got I love seeing that Isaiah Likely down there. But looking at a roster that was terrible, and now you're looking at Burton and Baker and McMillan as wide receiver 4, 5, 6 from this draft class of ours, and Ladd McConkey and Keon Coleman and Leggett as the top 3 receivers that we just pulled in to go with Puka and Addison, JSN. So you see our quantity of wide receivers starting to stack up. If McMillan or Baker or Burton, one of those guys can be the man,
yeah,
we're solid.
Yep.
If 2 of those guys are just pretty good, that helps a ton, So it'll be interesting to see how the team plays out and goes forward. We still we got some work to do, but it's it's a work in progress. We took our eye off the prize for a while, and now we're turning it around. We got some running back stabs, and we'll and I think that we're gonna be carried by Kyle Pitts and Brock Bowers, baby.
Yeah, I love to see it, man. And yeah, I mean, leaning into that premium, and we think this could be the year for Pitts. Maybe we have to wait on Bowers. I've seen a lot of times players that play around Devontae Adams, he just sucks up all the targets. But he's, Bowers. This is going to be Bowers' team in no time, to be honest. We just got to kind of wait that out. And I love this. You got Drake May here. We'll get back to the draft board. We got one more trade to get to, and again, love the squad and the direction you guys are going with it. I mean, again, people, you got to pick a direction and go after it. And I like just getting that volume. Just need a couple of these guys to hit. Part of the reason I had that roster up as well was just because you can see it is a little bit shallow. Maybe it's just relative to some of the other leagues I'm in. You start to 2 quarterbacks, but then it's 2 running backs, 2 receivers. So that's 6 players right then. And then you've got a tight end, so 7. And then you got 2 flexes, so 9 players. So you only need to get 9 players that you can rely on week in and week out. And I mean, with Puka, Jordan Addison, maybe you want someone a little better than Addison as your mainstay. Maybe he's more flex you would want there. But that could be a McConkey or any of these other guys that you guys just picked up. And once you're ready to go, then you get the running backs in there, and now you're cooking. And it could be a Chase Brown, and you'll have the ability to flip him if you want. Same with the Miller if either of those guys get the opportunity this year.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. And let's roll into this final trade. Let me just double check. That's not the one. So here we go. JMW gives a 2026 second for, and he gives away the 307 and the 403. So it seems like a good trade for him.
Yeah, I love that. I love that pick right there, or that draft, the trade for JMW there.
He was cooking. Shout out to JMW. He was just
Always.
all those trades that he did. You'll notice he barely has any picks on the draft board because he just gave them all away and for better value.
3-7? Who did he make the trade for mainly? Like the 3-7. Who did take it 3-7?
So this is JMW's team, and he gave that 3-7 to Husker Power. So Husker Power, let's go back. Husker Power, he gets himself Corley.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously Corley could be a solid player, but like you gave away 3-7 and 4-3 for a second rounder. You had to do you weren't getting a second rounder next year from somebody for that most likely, but like just throw it into 2026 devalues it for sure. But like a second for a mid third and a fourth is going to be a good trade all day long, right? So I like the value on the trade. Just looking at some of the names that were still on there, like it's kind of like Russian roulette, right? Like literally, like Tyrone Tracy goes at 4-6. He could have made that trade for Tyrone Tracy at 3-7, or maybe it's Vidal, maybe it's Bucky Irvin, maybe it's Luke McCaffrey. We don't know the answer to the test. Maybe it's Audric Estime. So like if it was Puka, like if that was 3-7 last year and he gave away a second round pick 2 years from now to come up and be able to get Puka, he looks like a freaking genius in 5 months, So like maybe Malachi Corley is a freaking stud.
Yeah.
We don't know. Today on paper, I like the trade for the guy that gave away the picks to get the second round pick. But until we know the answers to the test of who he drafted with those picks that the other dude got, Husker Power, who he got, that's the beauty of Dynasty, bro. It's the beauty of Dynasty. You could argue about it right now. We could fist fight in the street about it. We don't. There would not be an answer. And then the second layer of that is 12 months from now, the way we feel about it could be completely different than what we felt about it in week 5 this year when it gets rolling. It's ever changing. So it's really cool. That's why I love Dynasty. One of my very first Dynasty trades involved Adrian Peterson, and the entire league was so mad about it because they thought that I just crushed it. I got Adrian Peterson on my team, and the whole league was upset and this and that. Bro, Adrian Peterson was never good after I traded for him.
Mm-hmm.
But like the whole conversation about the trade in that league was how bad of a deal it was for the other guy. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Literally, it was a horrible next 2 days worth of 1 million group text, and literally
that?
6 months later, crickets, bro. Crickets.
Yeah.
Not one person came back into that group chat and was like, dang, AP ain't no good no more. And that, BigCo got the shaft. Not one person came back, and I got all the receipts.
Yeah. I'm hoping that doesn't happen with my Derrick Henry trade, but we'll see. And I pulled up the individual rosters just to do a little quick recap. I walked away with Jaden Daniels, Jonathan Brooks, Blake Corum, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and Marshawn Lloyd.
What an absolute haul. The key there is you got 3 firsts and 2 2s, and then 3-1. Marshawn Lloyd could go in the late 2 anytime, mid 2 if you really like him. So like the quality of player that you got, you could have come out of there with double those picks, but the quantity, you didn't need quantity, you needed quality. We needed quality, but we really needed some quantity.
Yeah, I would say that's dang near a starting lineup. If you squint.
Right.
So let's give the rest of the league a little bit of love, and then we'll get you out of here, man. Garth Brooks, he pulled off the tank job. Me, Ethan, and Garth Brooks were kind of fighting for it there at the bottom. But he got it. He got Caleb Williams, Bucky Irving, Audric Estime, Ricky Pearsall, Bo Nix. So he got his 2 quarterbacks. That's good. And then we've got EJ Bammer's team and Michael Penix. So he was the one that got him a couple quarterbacks there. Rattler on the other side. We'll see what happens there. But he got Marv, Worthy, 2 high upside, wide receivers. Theo Johnson, since this draft, Darren Waller's retired, even though we expected it kind of at that time. Adonai Mitchell, Jalen Polk. I love Polk. I love all those Washington receivers. They crushed it.
Nice.
And then Butcher, Brendan Rice, so kind of light in this draft, and he's the one I traded.
He's setting the draft out.
Yeah, I traded him the first for Henry, so maybe he's trying to get back in the next class. Still got a decent team. Man, yeah, this is when I was doing the mock drafts. This is how my teams were turning out, but then I ended up trading away all the picks. But you guys ended up actually walking away with just a full starting lineup, dang near. I mean,
needed it.
Maybe Garindo's going to take a backseat for quite some time, and maybe
Shipley
Shipley. But the rest of these guys,
4, 5, and 4-11 pick right there.
This is deep. I like this. This is nice. A lot of upside with these receivers. So yeah, man. And then we'll go give the rest of the league some love. Kamani Vidal, big hype train there, along with Tracy and Roma Dunze, big on him. So walked away with a stud receiver. We've got Last Fats here, JJ McCarthy, who I'm high on. Got his teammate Roman Wilson, Jacob Cowing, Jordan Whittington from Texas. Let's see here. Yeah, not bad there. I like getting the quarterback, and I'm in on Roman Wilson, Scooter Booter, Braylon Allen, Devontae Walker. So we'll call that sitting this draft out. But he might be newer to the league and just took over. So give him some time to cook. Husker Power is the OG here. Ray Davis, Malachi Corley, Ben Sinnott. I'm high on Ben Sinnott. I was messing around on a Washington Commander fans live while we were at the Scott Fish Bowl, and I gave him a hot take that Ben Sinnott will be a top 5 tight end this season.
Wow.
On my show the day before, I had said he'd be top 10, and I just took it a step further since it was a Commanders podcast. Yeah, we'll see if we get a Laporta type season from him. And we got Krause with Franklin, McCaffrey, Sanders, some late round upside guys. And we've got Tater. He sat the draft out, but I believe he won the league, maybe.
Yeah, he's right.
So he's not worried. He's always making moves. And then we got Trey Benson, Jalen Wright, Malik Washington, Jared Wiley on CD Emmer's team.
I think CDM. I think that's Corey Main. I think he won it, and I think Darth Tater was second.
Okay.
So yeah. So Corey Main, CDM won it, and then Darth Tater was runner up.
All right. Yeah, I like these. I like how the draft turned out. We'll see what happens this next season. There's some stiff competition in this league. I did have a question I have been curious about. Are you kind of, with Bryce Young, you got a situation where you can buy low or avoid the falling knife, right? Mm-hmm. Where are you on the Bryce Young situation, factoring in a lot of these players in this draft are now on the Carolina Panthers? So any thoughts on the outlook for 2024 Bryce Young and maybe just get out because even beyond 2024 is not the time?
Loaded question. I mean, if he's on your team currently and you drafted him, that stings. That's completely why I didn't want anything to do with him and CJ Stroud. Unfortunately, I dodged them both because I didn't know. And then if I'd had picked them both, it wouldn't have mattered because Stroud was so good. Stroud's so good, he outweighs the loss of the value of the Bryce Young pick. But I just stuck with my Anthony Richardson, and I got out of the way of the other two. That being said, I was watching some tape from last year, and I wanted to see what it looked like for Bryce Young. I watched the first 2 games for the Panthers. I wanted to see what it looked like before the doom and gloom, right? While everybody still had that spunk. You could still win the Super Bowl in week 1. Nobody's out of the playoffs yet. And it wasn't that bad. Now, by the end of the game, the offensive line is tired, and if you're not winning, obviously the defense knows you're throwing it no matter what. There is no more guessing games being played. The fourth quarter, a lot worse than the first 3 quarters. But there were some plays where you're like, there's the first overall pick, So I guess if I'm in a startup, there's always a player that I want more than Bryce Young. Because with Bryce Young and ADP, when he gets at the top of the list, literally he's like right there. And I'm like, well, I sure don't want to be above ADP in a startup and take him. But I think I think he's going. It's going to look better this year, and I think there's going to be a value increase. So I could buy him. I could be in the seat of saying I'll take on the investment, but it would have to be an existing team type trade. Rosters are set. Existing team trades are so much different than startup picks or trading around in a startup draft when your options are completely open. So I could definitely be gathering some Bryce Young in the right spot on the right team. If all I had was what I was giving away for Bryce Young, that's not a bet I want to make. But like on a good team, when I have a little bit of extra padding, if I lost, if the trade didn't go my way, it wouldn't be hugely detrimental. Those are the types of teams that I'm wanting to say, because then you get the upside swing, and that's how a good team stays good, right? So I could definitely get some Bryce Young in the right spot, but I don't want to be – if I'm completely rebuilding and my team sucks, like this team that we just redid here, I can't buy into Bryce Young because the question marks are too high. But that's exactly – like right now his stock could maybe never be lower.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that unless he completely flames out. They threw a lot of weapons at him. They're going to do a lot of running, so it may still be tough for him to score the points we want. But if he can just, he was bad last year. It was real bad. So
it was real bad. But it was bad all around. Like they threw weapons at him. They threw coaching at him. They threw offensive line at him. So like I said this the other day, like I was very surprised that the Panthers, as bad as that situation looked from the owner down, mainly the owner, as far as like working there as being an employee, I was very surprised. And I don't know the contract situation. I don't know how many free cars that Canales got from that dude, to do the spitting drinks on people and, you know what I mean? Like it goes into somebody's restaurant that has a sign up that says,
man.
you know what I mean? Like that, the audacity to go in there and be upset about. Maybe I don't remember the whole story now. Maybe they had a different team flag up or something in Charlotte, whatever it was. Like,
yeah, it was a sign that said like you suck or fire David Tepper or something like that.
Exactly. Like the audacity to go in there in person and embarrass. Like, what are you doing, Bo? Like, like the self-confidence, the inner self-confidence of somebody like that who's a billionaire. If you're throwing your drink on somebody, like you're not self-confident, dude. You're not. So you're the opposite of self-confidence. So anyway, I digress. I just was very shocked that they were able to pull off the Dave Canales hire. A Ben Johnson-esque type offensive coordinator to be able, like, there was no chance Ben Johnson was going there. But like, I didn't think there was any chance Dave Canales was going there. So I thought to get that done, I thought that was huge for the franchise. Offensive line improvements, weapons improvements in every direction. So I think that Bryce Young, I think it's going to look so much better this year. And if it doesn't, that's bad. That's bad. But I don't think it. I mean, it can't not look better.
Yeah, you handled that loaded question pretty well. I mean, we're hoping the best for these guys. And you got Leggett. My son's name is Xavier. I'm hoping a lot for this guy, man. He's funny to listen to.
Oh, man.
And for those that don't know, BigCo's a Lions fan, but he a lot of the FF Dynasty crews actually in the Carolinas. So and I've had multiple guests already on my show, multiple from the Carolinas. I don't know what it is, but actually started my channel due to some folks in the Carolinas. Like nice. Football is big in the Carolinas, more than I ever knew. So I love it, and hoping these guys can get it together because y'all need a good team, man. That was brutal, and for the Caleb Williams pick to be, I know, and I said y'all, but not you because you're a Lions fan, but now that they could have had Caleb Williams, it's pretty tough pill to swallow. So
yeah. I root for the Panthers. I mean, we're based in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm from South Carolina. So like the Panthers, like they came around in 95-ish, 95, 96, something like that. Like I was already 12, 13 years old by then. So like I didn't grow up a Panthers fan. I grew up a Gamecock, a college football fan. I grew up a Gamecock.
There you go.
Sure. And so like, I mean, me and Leggett sound like we're from the same place, right? So like it's I pull for the Panthers. I want to see them do well. It's fun when they're good, when they're playing good. I was, loving it when Cam was doing his thing. And obviously anybody around here we were all about it with Delhomme and Steve Smith and Musa Muhammad and all them boys. And, if Luke Kuechly didn't get hurt, I mean, if his, it just, It's been a sad last couple years for the Panthers, the way it went downhill, and I hope Leggett is a huge part of the turnaround because Leggett is fun. I think he's awesome, and I definitely root for the Panthers. I am a Lions fan, been a Lions fan for a long time. Nobody with my accent has ever been a Lions fan. Well, I picked them up with Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson 15 years ago when they sucked. They were 0-16.
Yep.
And nobody they were everybody's most hated team, and so I jumped on board, and I had to ride with them the highs and lows, and there were so many lows. There was no highs, I mean, the Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson made it fun for a while, but now we're finally Dan Campbell brought it, and let's go Lions.
Yeah, clawing their way to the top. Love it, man. And I want to try to close it out by stealing something that, maybe I can get ahead of this. I'm not going to do this all the time, but, you guys are working with Player Profiler. One of the things Theo likes to ask a lot of folks is, what's either a player or offense that you want to, if you could see the stats, how that might end at the end of the season, if you knew that today, who would that be that you'd want to see that from? Because maybe it would tell you a lot of information about the other ancillary players around them in that same offense. And after that, I was just going to close with maybe a hot take. So if you get to answer that first question first, and then whenever you get the hot take, I'm actually just going to close out the show. You don't have to elaborate on the hot take, but first start with, who's a player on the offense that you would love to see the final stats for today, like as if the season played out all the way, and what information might they give you about the offense or the players around them?
I love that question. Actually, the degenerate in me could give you 32 teams and 32 reasons why. And I know we got to get out of here in like 5 seconds. I could give you 30 more minutes on this question. I think right now it had to be the Atlanta Falcons. I think if you could tell me right now, if you could show me what's going on with Kyle Pitts and Bijan and Drake London and Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix, like, bro, come on. If you could give me the answers to that test right this second, that would be huge. They're must-see TV. Of course, I want to see the Texans play, but like, if you could show me right now what's going on with the Falcons, that'd be money.
Yeah. Excited to see what they can do. And then give me a hot take. All right. Give me something with some heat on it. All right. And then, but no description, no breakdown. I'm cutting the show off with the outro right after. What you got for me?
That's a tough one. I definitely
didn't. And sorry. Let's go ahead and get your, where people can find you, what you guys are doing. We'll do that first. Then you give the hot take, just so I can close it out.
Because after I say hot take, bang, you're hitting the button and we roll.
Yeah, man.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm not much on the Twitter. I read stuff on Twitter, but I don't post. I got, you can find me at Dynasty BigCo if you'd like, but the best way to find us is over at the podcast at the FF Dynasty. We're on YouTube, FF Dynasty. So the podcast numbers are really good. The YouTube numbers are really good. So it's growing, man. It's really good to us, relatively speaking. You know what I mean? It's not really good compared to some of the huge fish out there, but like, it's moving. It's moving in the right direction. And shout out to Casey and Jay for getting it there. I took my I was there once every 3 months for 2 or 3 years. I was there from the ground up to get it started 8 years ago, and I put my 4 or 5 years in, and then I had to tap out for a minute. And Casey and Jay, they kept it going, bro, and they grew it. And thankfully they were like open arms, happy to have me back, and I'm happy to have them back. And not that I ever left, I was just not there, So it's come over there to
BigCo's already there, man. Always there, man. And I absolutely agree with that. And Jay Wayne was so helpful with some technical stuff, how to do this and that on the back end. KC as well, and shouted me out when you guys didn't even have to do that stuff, man. Always appreciate the love that you guys showed your fans, your community on the Discord. So check out the FF Dynasty, man. They're continuing to grow and give out really good content with some good thought behind it, not just the picks. And again, really appreciate having you on. Just quickly, guys, y'all can find me on Twitter at DynastyFKey. I'm here on YouTube, Dynasty Football Key. Appreciate everyone for coming by. Like and subscribe. We'll be covering football year round to stay ahead of the game, and we'll close it out with finish any other thoughts you have, but then give us a hot take, and we'll close out the show, BigCo.
Thanks, man. Yeah, loyalty, bro. You've been with us for a long time. So as soon as you said you had this going on, I was there. So that's just how it goes. It's just how we roll. That's just how it is.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Man, I appreciate you. Thanks again for having me. So my hot take, I haven't put a lot. I don't really do hot takes. So I haven't really put any thought into this at all. But Casey called me a couple weeks ago because he was going to do a hot take show. And he was like, "Hey, I need some hot takes." And I was like, "I ain't got no hot takes." But he was like, "I need something." And I was like, "All right. Well, I think Trevor Lawrence is about to be a stud. I think Trevor Lawrence is about to be a beast, and that's my hot take."